is up, ladies and gents? We are here at the end of all good things, at the end of 2023, and we're doing a little bit of a Christmas end-of-year wrap-up with yours truly. So first of all, we're going to be checking out this amazing wrap-up piece, which is going to highlight, hopefully, some of the things that I've really enjoyed this year, some of the things that have made me tickle inside. And then we're going to be talking about J Notion's personal balls and tinsel list. So all the things that I didn't like this year in terms of gaming, and all the things that I thought was absolute tinsel and needed to be shared, needed to be whipped, wrapped around, and put under the tree for Christmas Day. So without further ado, let's check out J Notion's 2023 wrap-up. I will leave a link to this in the description of the video, guys, because everyone who has a PSN account will have access to this. Sony summarizes all your most played games, your epic moments, your trophies you've received, all that sort of stuff. Last year they gave us a voucher code that we could each use, which was unique to our user, that gave us nice little snippets of Christmas, like avatars and all that jazz. So without further ado, let's check out how the 2023 year was for Mr. Notion. In 2023, we played 65 games. That is pretty crazy. You sure spice things up with heaps of variety, and it all started with a bang. My first game of the year, apparently, was Call of Duty in 1st of Feb. Still playing it now. There are issues with it. Don't come at me. This is the big hitters. Now, this is a little bit embarrassing, and this one is actually not up to date because this is clocking over 800 hours at the minute. So I think this is a snap of games and statuses of trophies and stuff like that, which has been taken probably in mid-November, because a lot of these hours don't add up. But here is our biggest hitters, our top 5 games that we've spent the most time on this year. Number 1, Call of Duty. That goes without saying. I put absolute hours into this game. I do loads of multiplayer. I'm starting to get into Warzone again now. I've done loads of DMZ, and I love zombies. Multiplayer's on there as well. There are issues with it, and in all honesty, unless next year is an absolutely brand new game from the ground up, it's not sold as a DLC, or isn't going to be pitched as a DLC, and then it's a brand new game and it's actually not a brand new game, there's issues with it. But I'm still finding that I'm still playing this one. It's my go-to multiplayer game. I have so much fun online with buddies when we're trying to take out the opposition on this one. So it doesn't surprise me that I clocked in over 600 hours. I play this with my son as well when he's over. He absolutely loves it. And we terrorize people with riot shields and all that sort of thing. So we make fun out of the game, and we have some good times with it. So it doesn't surprise me this is number 1. Really surprised at number 2, which is Diablo. And for me, I don't play this at all now. I stopped playing it at the end of the very first season. I haven't played any of the updates since. But it's surprising that I still clocked in at 133 hours on this one. I did the campaign. I completed 4 characters, I think. 2 of them I maxed out, and then I just stopped playing it. It's a great game in the beginning. The campaign's okay. But once you've done that, it kind of falls off of a cliff. And because there's other games out there that are better in that genre, like Path of Exile, it just doesn't deliver the cojones. Number 3 was Lords of the Fallen Deluxe Edition, 102 hours. I personally really enjoyed the game. A lot of people have issues with it, said that it was buggy and all that sort of thing. It's not as smooth as a FromSoft game, but it's a game that's in the same genre. So if you're into your absolutely ball-punching, painful enemies and you want a bit of a challenge, this is one you should pick up, especially if you're a fan of the Souls series. As I said, there are issues with it, there are gripes. It's not as good as games like Sekiro and Elden Ring and Bloodborne and Dark Souls, but it's in the same genre. It's got the same sprinkles, and I absolutely enjoyed it. Again, I completed 2 of the 3 endings, maxed out 2 characters. I've got most of the weapons, but then I just looking for something a little bit more. But what's really cool is the developers are continuing to add to this game. Free patches, free updates, there's DLC, they did a Halloween event as well. And it's all being looked after. So I think it's absolutely worth picking up now, especially that most of the bugs and issues have been ironed out. Number 4, my personal game of the year, Final Fantasy 16. This was an absolute beast of a game. I've never, ever, ever played a game and felt so absolutely zoned into that world. I loved everything about it. The music was intense. The characters were amazing. The story was brutal, honest, amazing in every way, shape, or form it could be. It absolutely delivered as a Final Fantasy game, and then some. The icon fights were the absolute epiphany of this game, and for those of you that haven't played it, that are Final Fantasy fans, you should absolutely be playing it. It's my personal game of the year, my number one game of the year, which I'll talk about in the Balls and Tinsel list, but it goes without saying, I clocked in 51 hours on this one, and I loved every single moment of it. I didn't do all of the side quests, but I did about 80 to 90% of them. I've got the ultimate sword at the time of the first playthrough in the game, and I absolutely was near to tears by the ending. But it's great that already this one's got one DLC coming out. There's a second one as well where it actually includes the icon Leviathan, which I was hoping for. And I was like, where's Leviathan? Where's that damn snake gone? They're bringing the snake back. This time, not in a box. Metal Gear Solid. This one is going to be absolutely mental. And it's amazing that they're still pumping DLC into this. So it's only a matter of time before we pick this one back up. We get back into the world, and everything about it I loved. My one and only gripe with the game was that it was not true free roam. So you couldn't, in the world map, in the old Final Fantasy games, you could generally move from A to B and explore the world map. This one, you literally just click a point on that map and it takes you into that area. But all the areas are quite fulfilled. They're quite dense. There's a lot to do within the areas. There's monster hunts, weapons to collect, side quests, NPC quests, all that sort of thing. But it was really worth my time and I absolutely loved it. Huge fan of the series anyway, but this one did not disappoint. Number 5, Sea of Stars. This is my absolutely underrated, and it deserves more praise, game of the year. Number 5. I'm going to talk about this again in my Balls and Tinsel list. 26 hours in, I did complete the story. I'm not going to go into spoilers for people that haven't played it, but I was absolutely gutted for one of the characters in terms of the ending they got. And I found out later on that there is a true ending to the game, but there's a little bit of a hoop jumping exercise that you've got to go through in order to get that true ending. And I would like to have known that before I completed the end of the game. But this is an absolutely beautifully put together game. It's an indie title, RPG genre. It kind of falls into the same camp as the old school Final Fantasy games. Pixelated graphics, but there is anime and FMV type graphics in there as well for some of the cutscenes. There is no voice acting. It's all written dialogue. It's all text-based sort of screenplay and stuff like that. But it absolutely delivers. And I think if the game is just text-based and it can draw you into the characters, you care about the characters, each one of them is unique. The combat is great. It's strategic. You can pick one of the two main characters. It's all about magic, fantasy, beast slaying. There's necromancers in there. It's absolutely beautiful, and it's a must-play for any RPG fan. It's an absolutely amazing game, and it did win one of the Game Awards. I believe it won the Indie Game of the Year, and it absolutely deserves that recognition. More people need to play it. So that is our big hitters for 2023. What else are you going to tell me, Sony? My gaming style apparently is Gunslinger. You spend 52% of your game time lining up your shots and making them count. With the Call of Duty being the most number one game played in terms of the amount of hours I put in, that is not a surprise at all. And we're about to Call of Duty again. What you got up to by month? So I had 79 gaming sessions, 159 hours, 10 games played, and 81 trophies earned. That was my game of the month, and I think it's game of the month for every month. Oh no, Diablo comes in now. That's when Diablo came out in June. Back to Call of Duty. Lords of the Fallen came out in October. Smashed loads of hours into that. And then it went back to November when Call of Duty came back in. All the updates came in, the season updates. So Call of Duty pretty much has ruled my year, and that doesn't surprise me because I play a lot of it off stream. As I said, I play a lot of it with my son. We do multiplayer. I've got guys that I team up with, my buddies. And we go in on Warzone, we go in on DMZ, we go in on Zombies, we go in on multiplayer. And I'm just enjoying it at the minute, the camo grind. I didn't actually give a toss before in the old games about the camo grind. But for some reason in this one, I'm absolutely drawn to getting the camo. So at the minute I'm going through each gun, assault rifle, SMG, LMG. And I'm trying to get all the camos unlocked for it, get the gold, get the platinum, working my way towards that interstellar camo. But it doesn't surprise me. The amount of hours I've put into playing this is a bit embarrassing because I should be dedicating my time to other stuff. But I had a great time with Diablo when that came out for a couple of months, and I went straight back to Call of Duty. I had a great time in October, Lords of the Fallen. I was a really sort of on the fence about the game at first. I thought, is it going to land? Is it not going to land? But it did. I really enjoyed it. But I think I've reached the end of my thread with that one as well. Call of Duty just seems to be my chill, my go-to, especially off stream. I don't put much of it on the channel because there's just loads of it out there. Everyone's streaming Call of Duty. No one wants to see me play it. It's all over Twitch. It's all over YouTube. So I just play it in my own time, in my spare time. But it's crazy to see the amount of hours and the amount of days and the amount of time is actually taken me throughout the year to be playing that damn game. But it's good. I enjoy it. There are issues with it. And like I said, if next year's installment comes out and it's not up to par, I won't be buying it. Apparently Treyarch is doing the next one, so it should be a little bit better, especially on the zombies front. But we'll see. I think I will wait for the reviews next time. What I tend to do every year is get the Call of Duty as soon as it comes out. And then I know it's crap. I know deep down, underneath it all, it is crap. But I still have a great time with it. And that's what makes me buy it. It's the experiences that I have with my friends online. Not so much the game itself. The game can be absolute dog water, but if I have a great time playing it, in my eyes, it's worth playing, and I know I'll get my money out of it, so if you see what I mean. I'll put the time into playing it, so yeah. This is recommending some gunslingers for me. I've played some of these. I've played Doom 64, Killzone back in the day. I haven't played Rainbow Six Siege, a lot of people have said it's good. Back 4 Blood, I've completed. We did that one. DLC, Far Cry 3. Haven't played Journey to the Savage Planet either, but it's recommending gunslingers because of the time that I've been on Call of Duty. This year, I think that topped my record last year. I've put in 1,206 hours. You played a lot of games. You spent 92% of the game time playing 44 games on your PlayStation 5. I have been doing a bit of PC gaming as well. I got a Steam Deck this year. I've got an unboxing video on that, guys, if you want to go and check it out. I still think it's the best handheld you can get. I'm not going on about the PlayStation Portal, but that has made my balls list, and I did a little bit of a rant about that, and there's reasons why I hate it. So, but interestingly, the sales are going through the roof for it. It's flying off the shelves, and people want more of it. So it is selling, and Sony are getting their money's worth. There's just issues I have with it, which I hope they would have fixed, and hope they would have given it in terms of accessibility and reach for other people, but they didn't do it. But what do I know? 2023 trophies. 566 trophies. Look at all that shiny platinum. We got 7 platinums this year, which is pretty impressive. 71 golds, 103 silver, 385 bronze. My trophy level went up 13 levels, which is pretty tasty. Considering my most played game is Call of Duty and the trophies are naff on that, I'm quite pleased with that. That's quite impressive. Not really a trophy hunter. I tend to only go for platinums if I like the game. I know that sounds like, well, yeah, of course you would, but some people just grind the trophies. They hate the games, but they actually want to hunt the platinum because it's easier, what have you. If it is super easy, I will go for it. But generally, if the game is something I'm absolutely into the lore, into the world, no matter how hard it is, I will go for that platinum, which is Elden Ring, Bloodborne, case in point. My social style is squad hero. I put in 481 hours with my squad. Hell yeah. That's how I roll. Team player, team player. PlayStation stars, I earned 34 digital collectibles. I don't really know much about the stars. It's more of a digital thing, catalog. You can rack up points and then you can use those points to spend stuff. I think they're trying to go with the Xbox achievements style on it, but whatever. Marvel Spider-Man 2, which is also in my balls and tinsel list. We earned the Spider-Bot Legendary Data Digital Collectible. That was the last thing we've earned this year. That's a year. What a rep. Share and compare your greatest memories from 23 with your friends. Awesome. 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 And then we've got a Avatar and PlayStation Stars digital collectible unlocked. Now, by the time this video goes up, that voucher will be null and void, so don't even attempt to steal it. it's gone anyway. And this is what I'm looking forward to next year, Helldivers 2. It looks like a mix between Earth Defense Force and Starship Troopers, so I'm absolutely going to be playing this one. I will be streaming it on the channel as well. I am also looking forward to Stellar Blade, for obvious reasons, but it very much reminds me of games like Devil May Cry, mixed with a bit of sort of Neo Automata in there. Rise of the Ronin, this looks really cool. Kind of looks like a spin-off of like the Last Samurai stories, but again, this is going to be on my list. Ghost of Tsushima vibes all over it. This is my most anticipated game of the year so far. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. This is going to be the next part to the very first Final Fantasy VII remake game, and it looks super intense. Gold Saucer's in there, and we're going to be doing chocobo races. We're going to be doing the punch-up fights in the Gold Saucer. I cannot wait. Hopefully you can breed the chocobos, get different colors, travel across the land, all that sort of thing. It looks a lot more open world on this one, so I'm really, really interested about it. Tekken 8. Tekken is my all-time favorite fighting franchise. I'm just not invested enough, I think, at this late stage in the series to be absolutely over the moon about this one. But let's hope they bring something new, dynamic, but also keep what makes the Tekken franchise great in there. I would love to see something similar to what they did in Tekken 3, where you had kind of like a Streets of Rage mode, where you would go side to side across the levels. 2-player as well, co-op. Put some online co-op in there to do it. Aside from the story mode and arcade mode, normally there's a time trial, but I'd love to see something that kind of brings back that original nostalgia for me. Then I might be a bit more interested. And again, same with Silent Hill 2. I don't know why they haven't done Silent Hill 1 first as a remake, but Silent Hill 2 is being remade. Nah, maybe. We're not going to talk about the Portal yet, but because that's coming in my balls and tinsel list. The Pulse Explorer wireless earbuds I'm looking to do a product review on, so hopefully, Sony, if you want to send me a copy of them, send me a review copy, I'll be very nice. Then I can put out a little bit of an unboxing video around these. But I have heard good things about the buds. The sound, the microphone, everything is good with the buds. Remote player, not so much. And notice this, guys. This is one thing I want to shout about more. This is a remote player. This is not a personal standalone handheld console. It is not a Steam Deck. It's not an OLED. It's not a built-in processor. It is a streaming accessory. So just remember that. This streams remote play, via remote play, your PlayStation screen to this device. This is not a standalone console. So please bear that in mind when you're buying your children this thing for Christmas. You have to be connected to Wi-Fi to use it. There are limitations to it, which I'll talk about in my balls and tinsel list. I personally think there's better handheld consoles out there, especially for kids. But if you are looking for something that's very simple, that doesn't have too many bells and whistles, that just replicates the screen, it's £200. So you have to kind of weigh it up and what kind of game market you want to be in. Whether it's Nintendo type games or you want to do something a little bit more mature and go with PlayStation. But we'll talk about that. So that is my 2023 wrap-up list in the bag. Now we're going to be talking balls and tinsel. So let's start off nice and heavy and intense. Balls and tinsel of 2023 for Jane Ocean. Now, I was going to put together my top 5 gaming list of the year. I was going to put together a list of all the things that's pissed me off this year, but that list is too long. And I was going to talk about Rings of Power again, but actually, that was last year's problem, believe it or not. Time flies. So let's just get into it, guys. My balls list. The biggest balls ups of this year. The biggest things I felt were a disappointment. The things I was looking forward to and then released into absolute dog water. Now, I could go on all day about the state of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3's campaign, but Mr. Judge has already done that and caused quite a bit of backlash. We all know that that game could be better. It could be improved. Things could be a lot more smoother, and it's not going to be. So we're going to leave the obvious stuff aside. This is my personal list. I've only got 2 things on my balls list this year. 2 balls for 1 sack. Santa's sack, and I'm going to talk about them now. So the number 1 for me this year is the PlayStation Portal. Now, before everybody asks me in the comments and says, this is a dad's console. I've got no time. I need this in my life. It's optimum. It does everything I need it to do. Yeah, it's great. But what I was disappointed at with Sony on this one is I was hoping for a standalone console, something that was a little bit more fluid, a little bit more PS Vita, PSP type of vibes, but we didn't get it. This is a remote play device. So let me reiterate that to you. Remote play. This just streams your PS5 screen to the console. That is it. So all the parents out there that are debating getting this for their kids and thinking, yeah, this is the PlayStation handheld. This will do the exact same thing that a Nintendo Switch will do. It'll do the same thing that a Steam Deck will do, an Asus ROG Ally will do. No, it won't. This is not a built-in processor, guys. This is not a handheld gaming console. It's a remote play accessory. And interestingly enough, if you go onto the PlayStation website, it lists it as such. It's an accessory, not a console. So, with all that aside, let me talk into why this has made my balls list. So first of all, as I said, I was hoping for something that's going to be revolutionary from Sony. I'm hoping they were going to break into the handheld market. And when I first heard about this accessory, back at the State of Play, I was hoping that this was going to be the modern day PSP or the PS Vita. I hoped that they was going to break into the market on the handheld consoles and we were going to see a standalone processor, something that you can use all your accessories with. It'll be adaptable to Bluetooth. You can use your Pulse headset with it. There's going to be USB slots to stick in your dongles, all that sort of thing. And I don't expect it to play discs, but digitally capable of playing PlayStation 5 games, PS4 games, anything that you've got on the cloud service, you can download to this console. Maybe there's some external storage you can put in there, some SD cards. No, none of the above. Shove it up your ass, said Sony. So the reason why this was a massive letdown for me and something that I was absolutely looking forward to, but when I found out a little bit more about it, I was absolutely disappointed and felt like I'd be given a bag of coal for Christmas. This is why. So number one, it has no Bluetooth. Zero. Nada. It's got a PS Link system built into it, so if you've got any of the two, I said it, any of the two officially licensed Sony headsets, one of them is the Pulse Elite, which is not really in stock at the moment. That's going to set you back over £200. Or you can buy the recently discussed Pulse Elite wireless buds. They're in stock. They're also £200. Those are the only two currently TP-Link adapted Sony approved products that will work like Bluetooth with this accessory. If you've got a Pulse wireless headset, which came with the PS5 in some of the bundles, I've got one. A lot of people have one. They're great headsets, great all-around sound, got Dolby Atmos built into it, 3D audio, great audio profiles that you can use on it. Yeah, you can't use that one. You got to buy a different one, said Sony. It's just, do you know what I mean? You've got all these accessories, you've got all this stuff, but it don't work with the frickin' accessory that they're releasing. They're strong-arming you into buying the wireless buds or the more expensive Pulse Elite Pro headset, which is different to the Pulse headset, the original one that came with the PlayStation. I'll put a side-by-side comparison. These are the two, the original Pulse and the Pulse Elite. The Pulse Elite is the only one that works with the accessory. That end of. No more discussion on that. There is an aux slot on the accessory, so you can plug in a wired headset. But again, most people are going to be playing this one on the sofa, in the kitchen, in the bath, in the bed. Do you know what I mean? The idea of this is that it's portable. It's called the PlayStation Portal. It takes your PlayStation screen away from your home setup or wherever you normally play your PlayStation, and it gives you options. It gives you flexibility around the house. You also don't have to be on the same Wi-Fi, which is pretty cool. You can just be linked into a Wi-Fi somewhere, and as long as your PlayStation is in rest mode or it's on, you can power in through a Wi-Fi to your PlayStation's Wi-Fi, which is pretty cool. It's a cool concept. I didn't realize it did that initially, so that's one plus in the plus column. But for me, there's too many crosses in the cross column. So, that's that. You also cannot play the premium streaming gaming games on the Plus service. So, putting that in English, you can't play any of the premium tier streamed games. So if you've got the Premium Plus service, you've got cloud streaming options, obviously, as part of that service. You can't play any of the premium games. Don't ask me why. It just doesn't do it. It doesn't like it. And you'll be very lucky if you can stream effectively any of the essential or mid-tier games as well. So let that digest. This is a premium streaming accessory that cannot stream premium games. Yeah, just keep saying that to yourself. It's a shame because I think they could have gone absolutely to the field with this one. They could have brought out so many different technical specs for it. They could have gone balls deep on the settings. They could have made it a strong processing contender against the big handheld consoles. They could have broke the market. It could have sold even more than it's selling now if they would have widened the accessories. And I'm willing to bet at least 30 to 40% of the people that have bought a PlayStation Portal this Christmas don't even know the restrictions that some of these things got. And I did put a post on the channel, guys, around the Portal a couple of months back. I went in on it and I said it's not worth the money. But it kind of is if you only want to play PlayStation games, you're only interested in playing it kind of in your house on good Wi-Fi in a different room so that someone else can use the TV. That's pretty much all this will fit audience-wise. There are better handheld consoles out there, and I'm not paid by Valve, I'm not paid by Asus or anything like that. But the ROG Ally, the Steam Deck, even the Nintendo Switch has more capabilities and accessory options than this thing. And it's a shame because the wireless buds appear to be great. I'm hoping to get my hands on some of them soon so I can go through and do an unboxing video, talk you through the specs and all that sort of thing. But all in all, it's a colossal flop, and it's a shame because it could have been absolutely amazing. It could have been something great. It's not got a very good, respectable battery, and the list goes on. So it's a letdown for me, and that's why it's made my balls list. Rant over. The next and only other thing that's absolutely made the balls list this year is the day before. Not as in yesterday, but the game the day before. So everyone was looking forward to this. It kind of looked like a Zomboid, Division, open world Last of Us type game where you were in a post-apocalyptic world. There was crafting elements, there were survival elements, there was PvPvE concepts as well. So you create your character, you go into a level or a server, you have to craft things to build a house or a base, you make weapons, medkit, survival items, all that sort of thing. And it looked really, really promising. When we saw some of the early concept stuff, it looked really good. I was quite interested in it. And then I heard recently that it was coming to early access to Steam. I thought, great, this is going to be amazing. The game's coming out. Let's give it a spin. And before I even had a chance to download it, they took it off of Steam. Apparently, the company has gone into liquidation. They've shut down. The sales on even the early release stuff is absolutely abysmal. Apparently, it's so disappointing that they just cannot afford to keep the company open. And it's a massive shame because I think the amount of people that must have spent hundreds and hundreds of hours trying to craft this game, both from like a design perspective, gameplay, graphics, audio, there must have been tireless people working on this around the clock, and it just absolutely came out in a piece of shit mess, and it's just left Steam. It's not even on there anymore. You can't buy it, you can't download it. Some people had the unfortunate experience of being able to buy it and download it, and I've put in some time already on the game in the early access state, but it is an actual state. I've seen some channels online that have been waiting hours and hours to get in. You'd like to think Ubisoft has been involved somehow because they like doing that. They like releasing a game that's got shit servers on release day, and you're waiting hours and hours to get in, only to be met with bugs, glitches, game crashing issues from the off. So it's not a Ubisoft game. That's a little dig at Ubisoft as well. They have improved a little bit over time, but looking at Skull and Bones, I think that's going to go down the same route, unfortunately. They need to stick with their guns with some of this stuff. I think switching development teams midway through a process of a game is a bad idea. You've already spent all that money. You kind of need to grab your balls and go for it and just see what happens. I think switching it midway through is a very bad decision because you're going to get people coming in that have got absolutely completely different ideas, completely different concepts, different skills as well. So it revamps the whole game. And to me, you've wasted that money right up until that point trying to deliver something that's totally different in a totally different ballpark. And these people have got different goals and different imagination for the game. So that aside, this is kind of what happened with the day before. It came out, people took over, they had different ideas about what they want in the game, how they want it to play, and they just didn't have the budget to then redo it and extend it all, and it just came out in an absolute piss poor state. So the people that did manage to play it got into some of the servers. The game was absolutely abysmal. There was bugs everywhere. I've seen some horror stuff online where there's like the players just glitch through walls, just flinging across the map. Some of the map and the floor just sort of disappears. You fall through the map, you die, all that sort of thing. That's after spending hours trying to get in. So it's an absolutely shite experience. The story's terrible from what people have managed to do at this early stage on the early access. So it's a big, big disappointment, and it's a shame because that was one of my games that I had on my list, that I've had on my watch list in Steam. And like I said, it was only the other day, it pinged me a message saying this is now available to download in early access. So I thought, great, let's do a game preview on the channel. I couldn't even download it, guys, and it was removed. I went in there and I thought, hang on a minute, where's the game gone? It's been taken off. And then there was an article saying the company's been shut down. They've basically gone bankrupt. They've got no money. They need to close everything. The game's gone, deleted, goodbye. So what an abysmal piece of shit, and what an abysmal experience for everyone that was looking forward to this game. So that is why this has made my other balls list. Moving on to the glorious Tinsel, the biggest things this year that I've absolutely loved and enjoyed. Number 1, Spider-Man 2. This game was a contender all the way in the Game Awards for different things. Unfortunately, it didn't win many awards. I don't know if it won anything. I think it won Action Game, potentially. I don't know. It won something, but I thought this was going to score more on the Game Awards than it did. And it was against some tough competition, the likes of Alan Wake 2 and Baldur's Gate 3. But this, for me, was one of the biggest highlights of the year. I did play through this game on the channel, guys. So again, if you want to go and check it out, you can. All of the games I'm about to talk about on this Tinsel list, I have done a playthrough of. One of them I'm currently still playing, but you can check out any of the playthroughs of these games if you don't know anything about them, you haven't seen anything about them, or you just want to see my experiences with the game, how things panned out for me when I was playing it. All of these are available for you to go and watch and enjoy. So Spider-Man 2 was on the Tinsel list, and it goes without saying, this game is phenomenal. It's the first time, really, since the early days of PS5 where I've played a game and I thought, God damn, this is a movie. Everything about it, the cinematography, the way the cameras are panning, the characters, the story. I was a bit on the fence about switching between Peter and Miles. I thought, how's that going to work? I don't really like Miles. He's not really my favourite. But this game absolutely changed my mind. I came away enjoying the Miles gameplay more than Peter's gameplay, both in terms of the story, because he has like a personal struggle through this story, and I'm not going to spoil anything about the game. I'm not going to spoil anything about any of the games I talk about in case any of you do have these on your hit list, or if you plan on getting these for Christmas. I'm not going to talk about anything, so there's no spoilers in these discussions. But Miles, let's just say he has a more of a struggle in time than Peter does. We kind of carry on with what happened to Peter in the first game into this one, and Miles, for me, takes home the trophy in terms of character arc, his development, his emotional progress as well. Sort of how he starts in the beginning of the game and how he ends the game is a massive, massive jump in his character delivery. And I absolutely loved everything about it. People had some issues with MJ as well in terms of how she looked. Some gripes around some of the gameplay, and I can see why, because there's elements where she is absolutely wrecking the floor with trained assassins, and all she's armed with is a bloody taser, and she's a journalist. You know what I mean? It's just not realistic. But that's the only part of the game for me that fell a little bit flat and didn't feel right, and I kind of laughed at it a little bit. But I quickly forgot it, because once you get past those sections, the game is absolutely beautiful. The world's amazing. The traversal is probably one of the best things about this game. You have got fast travel in there, but you don't want to use it. And I think if you're in a game that's got fast travel and you don't want to use the fast travel, you absolutely have to hold your hands up as a developer and say, we've nailed this, guys. These people don't want to fast travel. They want to actually walk, swing, and move across the world freely using web swinging, the web suits, all that sort of stuff, and not get there instantly. They don't want to jump ahead. So you can absolutely say as a developer you've nailed it if your players want to do that. And this is how it feels in this game. Everything about it's fluid. You've got wind tunnels that you can glide through with your websuit, which feels unique, and it feels very much Superman-like. And I keep saying to my friend, you know, they can do this. If they can do this with the websuits, they can make a Superman game. But obviously, Superman's DC and Insomniac tend to do Marvel. Maybe there's a bit of a grudge there, but one day, who knows, there might be a developer like Insomniac that's got the build, the budget, the capability to sort of deliver the Superman game. If not, let's hope Insomniac can strike a deal one day with DC and make that Superman game, because just playing this game, you will see that there is absolutely room to make other superhero games like this. It's the best superhero game I've ever played. I absolutely love the Arkham games. Arkham Knight, Arkham Asylum, Arkham City. I love all of them. Arkham Origins wasn't as strong, but again, all the Batman games, and Batman is my thing. Batman is my superhero, my favorite one. And even this, Spider-Man 2, is 100% better, I would say, than all those games probably combined at a push, if I was on a good day feeling like a Batman fan. But everything about this game is an absolute masterpiece, guys, and I think this is the one time that you will play a game where you absolutely feel like you're pushing the PS5 to its full capability in terms of minimum loading screens, excellent gameplay, excellent combat, great story, and just the way that some of the cameras are pitched in some of these scenes and the way it swings through, and some of the combat and the web, you know, the suits you can have and the customization options and the side quests are great as well, and it just expands more and more on the world. So for me, this is an easy entry into the Tinsel list. And if you haven't experienced Spider-Man 2 yet, do yourself a favor and put it on your list to Santa, because this is an absolute banger of a game. Number 2 on the Tinsel list, my personal game of the year, Final Fantasy 16. Now, I can go on and make a video about this all in its own, but you don't want to be stuck here for hours. This is just me saying, as a fan of the series and even just a fan of gaming, this is an RPG game that everybody should experience, even if it's just for the icon fights, even if you're not interested in the flashiness of Final Fantasy, you're not interested in the magic, you don't really care about the characters, even if the music's great, by the way, even if you're not interested in the music, you just want to go in and have a King Kong versus Godzilla type fight, you can do it in this game, because each part in the game you come across icons, which are kind of like guardian forces, like demons, summons that they've been referred to in the older games, and you have colossal fights. I mean, throwing each other through buildings, falling through the earth, literally, throwing each other into volcanoes, and just some of the special effects, the flash photography, the way that you can launch fireballs at them, and it feels absolutely mental. And for me, it was the highlight of the game. They spread them out enough that they weren't happening all the time, so they felt unique, but also when you were playing them, each one felt like it was its own fight. None of it was replicated. It didn't feel like a copy and paste at any point. Each icon fight, you had to do something slightly different. The fight played out differently depending on how strong the icon was, where it was in the story. And they actually use the scenery. They actually use the area that you go to in terms of the cities and the mountains. And they use that as the backdrop for the fight. So if you're in the mountain, you can launch someone through the mountain. And it literally plays out so well with the FMV cutscenes. The characters are likable. Not all of them were as strong as some of the older Final Fantasy games. But for me, it was an absolutely solid experience. And hats off to Ben Starr, my boy from Bristol, who didn't get, unfortunately, the voice actor of the year. It did go to the man from Baldur's Gate. But he did a phenomenal performance. And for him to be able to deliver a main character in a Final Fantasy series, being a very strong Final Fantasy fan, like myself, is an absolute blessing to him. And it's so great to see someone from my hometown get that recognition and be in a game and be in a series that I absolutely know and love as well. We both like Final Fantasy VIII. Those are our favourite games, and it's a bit of a taboo game. Not everyone likes it, and everyone normally goes for 7 or 9, but 8 is my favorite, and I'm not ashamed to say it. And it's just so nice to see that someone at that level, that caliber, also enjoys the same game the most. But anyway, back to Final Fantasy 16 itself. So the story is epic. Characters are really likable. Even some of the NPCs have their own backstories and their own way that they fit into the war within the game, within the story. And you can kind of go off and do those side quests. You don't have to, but there's some side quests where you really, really want to, and you want to know more about why the NPC has such an agenda against somebody, or what their motive is based on the story and all that sort of thing. So it's absolutely worth it, guys. There are phenomenal composers behind the music. I often play the playlist to this game on my Spotify list. Not ashamed to say it. It's got an epic blend of rock, heavy metal. There's some like soft orchestrated tones in there. If you like Uematsu's work in Final Fantasy 8, 7, and some of the older stuff he's done in 9 and 10, you will absolutely love the soundtrack to this game. It's weaved beautifully into the story. Everything is epic. The one and only thing I didn't like I said before earlier in the video, is there's no free roam world map. You just go to a point, you click on it, and then it fast travels you to that point. Then you explore the area within that area, if that makes sense. But aside from that, the game is epic. You need to witness it. You need to play it. And it should be up there with something that you experience when you get yourself a PS5. Number 3, Alan Wake 2. So I'm currently playing through this one on the channel, guys. I'm about 3/4 of the way through. This one received awards at the Game Awards this year. Rightly so, for narration, art, and direction, I believe. And you can see why. There's points in this game where I'm absolutely laughing my head off. There's points where I'm absolutely bricking it because the horror is fantastic in it. They're great at building up atmospheric horror in this game. The art style is really creepy, so there's sections where you kind of go into a middle world, or the world between what's reality and what's not. Again, I won't spoil too much for those of you that are looking to play this, but if you're just into something that's slightly different to all the horror games that you've played, this is up there. The characters are great, there's FMV cutscenes, but the game itself looks absolutely beautiful, even in some of the areas where someone's been dissected, literally. Blood's everywhere, stuff is smeared on the wall. It looks dark, grotesque, and amazing. I'm really enjoying the characters, and it's got so many twists and turns in it. If you're into TV shows like CSI, NCIS, anything like that really, where you're trying to solve something and you think, oh, did they do that? Who done it? Type of vibe. This game will tick all those boxes for you. There was points in this game where I feel like I had the story down to a T. I feel like I knew what was going to happen. I had the characters in the bag, and then the game spins a clue on its head, and then I'm thinking, I might have got this wrong. I'm not sure if that's right. I want to change my mind. I'm not sure if they're actually the villain now. I'm not sure if that person's the killer. I think it's all moved. And it makes you think like that all the time. When you think you've got it down, you think they've got the plot to a T, and you've worked it all out, and you're the mastermind, the game's like, oh no, not today. This is what's happening. So if you're into all that as well, the whodunit, the murder mystery, there's some great puzzles in here. There's something for everybody. A lot of people were griping about the fact it looked like the Resident Evil remake games, and it does in terms of gameplay, like the over-the-shoulder third-person camera, and the item management and the inventory system is identical. But I would say, if it works, why'd you care? They're taking the best elements of horror games and they've used them for their own games. It's no different than the Spider-Man games using the same combat as the Arkham games. The Arkham games came first, and they've just borrowed it. Some of the Assassin's Creed games does the same. And I think if you're going to have that as a key feature in your game, it's not copying. You're just using what works in other games and what makes people happy and weaving it into your story, into your engine, into your narration. So calm yourselves down, guys. It is a very much copy and paste inventory system from the Resident Evil remake games. But for me, I like that. It works. And it's not so gleaming in your face that you think, oh my god, this is a copy and paste of Resident Evil. The game stands on its own two legs. It's got a great story. The characters are believable. They're disturbing, some of them. Some of the scenes you see are absolutely mental in terms of the horror vibe, the atmospheric horror, the tension, the thriller aspects, the whodunit, the FBI solving. It works as well with the character switching, so you play part of the game as Alan, part of the game as Saga, who's an FBI agent, and she's getting blurred between the worlds of reality and fiction. It's epic, it's absolutely amazing, and everybody should experience it. It's one of the games that I would absolutely recommend to anybody who wants something that's a little bit different, who are fans of horror, fans of the action-adventure genre, because you can travel to different parts of the map, you can pick things up, there's collectibles, the story's great. You find yourself just wandering into houses and rooms just trying to pick up ammo, documents, and you can read stuff and try and... There's like a mind map board where you can try and work out what character did what, and you have to place the document somewhere, and then that evolves the timeline of the crime, and some of the crimes are interlinked, and there's a cult in there that you've got to find out what their motive is, and you keep finding symbols everywhere, and I can just go on and on about it, guys. It's just a game that you absolutely need to play, and I recommend you do. Even if you're scared, even if you can just swallow the horror, it's not too in your face all the time. There are elements where it's about the puzzle solving, about the mystery, about the story, and the horror takes a backseat, but the horror does need to be sort of shouted out, and it is a game worthy of your time. The final game that's made my Tinsel list this year is Sea of Stars. This is an RPG indie classic. Again, I've done a playthrough of this on the channel, guys, so I'll leave a link to that in the description of the video. Again, I can go on about this all day, and I can make a separate video just about Sea of Stars, but I won't spoil it for anyone that hasn't played it. All I will say is that it's an RPG pixelated classic. It's been put together by an indie developer, and I think it absolutely needs to be shouted out. I think it won Indie Game of the Year. It did win something at the Game Awards. I think it was Indie Game of the Year, and I absolutely agree with it. Even if you're not really a hardcore RPG fan, you can pick this one up. It's easy to get hold of. It's easy to understand the story. Nothing's complex. It leads you through the combat very well, and then you almost feel like you're a pro when you master the combat and you master the combos and how they work. So it's absolutely worth your time in terms of that. There's no voice acting, but there is text-based dialogue, so it's kind of like the old school Final Fantasy games from 7 up to 10. But the way that the story's written, the way that the dialogue's even written, the characters themselves, it feels like you're there with them. You can almost make up their voices in your head. The writing's that good. The cutscenes are great. It's got everything in there for the fantasy RPG fan. There's magic, there's betrayal, there's everything you've got in terms of weapons. You can visit different towns. There's an open world map. There's even a side game called Tables, which is kind of like Witcher's Gwent or Final Fantasy VIII Triple Triad card game. That is a game within itself, and it's got all the best elements of all the RPG games we know and love, basically. So combat, weapons, characters, story. The music's fantastic as well. Again, this is one of those games that I've got the soundtrack to on my Spotify playlist, and every now and then when I want a little bit of an upbeat, phonic jive, I'm going to switch this one on in the car, and I'm just going to bob to it, because there's some epic soundtrack in this as well. There's necromancers, there's witches, all the good stuff. There's some hilarious characters. There's a pirate crew where you kind of take on an undead ship and stuff like that, and I won't go into the story too much, but there's just too many things that happen in this game for you not to love and experience it, and everyone needs to give Sea of Stars a go, because, as I said, it's an indie developer. They've put their heart and soul into it, and they've weaved in all the great concepts that we know and love from old RPG games, but made it something original and interesting as well. So that is my final game on the Tinsel list. That is my Balls and Tinsel list done. 2023 wrap-up is done as well, guys. Thank you so much for all your support this year. I just want to say a huge shout out to all the new subscribers, but also the returning ones, especially my moderators, Pumpkin and JMC. You guys are in every single stream that I do. You comment on every single video, you put my content out there, you share it with other people, and it's allowed me to get sort of advertising from other companies. People have reached out to me for product reviews and stuff like that, collaboration videos, and it's all because of the support each and every one of you gives me, but my moderators especially. So a special shout out to my moderators, and thank you to everyone for watching this video as well. If you are brand new to this channel, come and check me out. I've got some interesting content coming next year, some new content, some returning favorites as well, and there's some more Christmassy type stuff coming up before the end of the year as well, guys. But if I don't catch you before, I hope you all have an amazing Christmas. Stay safe, stay well, And even if you're spending your time alone this Christmas, I hope you have a great one. Be festive, be merry, eat loads, drink loads, sleep loads, and have a great time. And let's look to see what 2024 brings. But for me, the channel is going to continue to run. It's gaining subscribers every single day, which I'm super, super thankful for. I'm going to breach out into Twitch a bit more as well next year. I just sort of did it towards the end of the year and just focused mainly on YouTube. But I'm going to be focusing on TikTok as well. There's going to be some shorts content come in. The podcast is going to be up and running as early as possible, really, next year. We'll try and get one in January. I'll try and get the V-Man back in as well, because a lot of you sort of enjoyed his content and what we were talking about. So I think we're going to keep that running as a theme. But if anyone wants to get involved in future podcast episodes, please let me know. Keep the questions coming. And like I said, just super, super grateful, guys, for everything that you've done, for every video you've watched, for every thumbs up you've left, every comment, every share. Everything helps. And the channel just continues to grow and grow and grow. And I just can't believe how much we've achieved. Not just within this year, but in the space of the few years that the channel's been going. It's absolutely mental. We're pushing 4,000 now. And, you know, it's just continuing to grow. And the people I'm meeting are excellent. I've made some lifelong friends through the channel. And it's just epic, really, in terms of what it's delivered to my life. Not just what something started off as a hobby. So, really, really grateful. And, yeah, thank you so much for watching the video. So, have a great Christmas. I wish you all the best for the new year. Hopefully see you guys again next year. Stay tuned to the channel. There's more from me coming, more of the usual, but more new stuff as well, and potentially some more membership, subscriber content coming out next year as well. More presents under the tree. But that's me done. Thank you for checking me out, guys. Until next year, have a Merry Christmas, and I'll see you again very soon. Peace, Jingle Balls.